Championship is underway.
Pedrosa looks like he might be getting the whole shot from pole position. Pedrosa will lead them into the first corner. Andrea Iannone got away well. Zarco's look up the inside of Rossi at turn 2. Will he make it through? Yes, he will. And he nudges Rossi out wide. Rossi, though, fights back up the inside of Zarco. Take that back, he says. Zarco's coming back on Rossi. This is an unbelievable fight already between the two. And then Pedrosa's trying to make hay while the sun shines. He's clear now by 9/10 through the first sector. Look at Zarco. He's already mugged Rossi at turn 9. And now he's up the inside of Viñales. And he's having a go at Crutchlow now.
He's not having a go. He's got through on Cal Crutchlow. He's up the inside of turn 13. He's through. Zarco is through into third place.
As he's going through,
He is up the inside. And Zarco has Marquez and moved into second place.
Johan Zarco now has passed Rossi. He's passed Crutchlow. He's passed Marquez. He's passed Viñales. It's been an exhibition so far.
Turn 1, we have a faller.
That's Miller. Miller and Bautista. Jack Miller. Well, that's a bit naughty, Jack. Pushing over Alvaro Bautista in the gravel. I think Jack Miller might have an appointment with race direction a little bit later on.
Danny Pedrosa has a lead of well over 1.5 seconds.
Oh, Crutchlow's gone down. Cal Crutchlow's out of 4th place. Race over for Crutchlow. Fast old crash at turn 11.
Yeah. Can Lorenzo put that Ducati on the podium? Zarco will not succumb easily, I promise you. Well, Lorenzo is through.
Rossi's struggling here. You can see Petrucci's got the better pace. Valentino Rossi is on a bit of a knife edge here with his grip. It's been perfect, Pedrosa. He's not put a foot wrong. Marc Marquez could do nothing more.
The 3,000th Grand Prix to be staged since 1949. And the winner, Danny Pedrosa here in Jerez.
When he's on Danny Pedrosa, no one in the field can touch him. Valentino Rossi, 62 points after 4 rounds, Daz, since they changed. I think it was back in 1993, the point system. That is the least number of points the championship leader has had after 4 rounds. So he's consistent but not winning races. 2 in front of Viñales and 2 back to Marquez. We're after the championship we've been looking for, aren't we?
Yeah, you'd have to say points-wise how we couldn't ask for a better situation. If you go down a little further to see Zarco, who is on the front row here tonight, he's leading that privateer challenge, I would imagine, in head of Cal Crutchlow there in 7th position, but pretty good points.
Yeah, my word. An incident on one of the earlier races we're now going to show you, Daz. This is like wacky races. Moto 3, it was like someone put down something on the track. We think there was an oil spill, but you've never seen so many riders spin off. 12, 13 riders, very lucky to avoid bikes as well, it must be said.
Unbelievable. So being Moto 3, initially I think of that as 125 two-stroke L125 class, but obviously one of the bikes up in the pointy end of the fields had an oil leak.
Let's have a look at the circuit in Le Mans. As I said, we're about 2 hours, 200 kilometres southwest of Paris. Bit of a stop-start circuit, Daz, as you described it to me.
Yes, but the positive, Howie, is the resurface that we spoke about earlier, that run through turn 1 into 2 where Jack Miller had that massive moment during the practice session, FP4, about 290 km/h run into 3, up over 5 and down into that bowl where we just saw that Moto 3 crash, which heads off onto the Le Mans circuit. Like you said, Howie, a stop-start circuit, not that difficult on tyres. Michelin again this weekend, all your usual compounds available. But I think all in all, just this circuit's so much more fun now with the resurfacing. As I said before, it used to be a very low grip circuit. For me personally, not a lot of fun to ride on, but it looks pretty good this weekend.
You hear the roar of the crowd. Valentino Rossi will start second on the grid. We mentioned a couple of times an incident that took place at the riders' safety briefing on Friday, Daz. You can explain why it occurred. Now, Jorge Lorenzo had a word to Jack Miller afterwards. It was just in the press conference, but from all reports, as Jorge was voicing his opinion on this tyre situation, Jack Miller said, and I quote this, Daz, opinions are like, well, I'll say bumholes, but that's not what he said. Opinions are like bumholes, everyone has one. That's what Jack Miller was quoted as saying to the multiple world champion Jorge Lorenzo, which is a gutsy call. Explain what they were discussing in the first place.
Well, they're discussing the tyre, stiffer construction that's been floating around for a while. The team's tested to get it at post Jerez. It hasn't been available. It was a tyre that some of the everyone tested last season. It was taken away out of the allocation. It's back there again. The riders get to vote on it because it's a controlled tyre situation, Howie. I think the numbers were something like 3 against, the rest were 4. So it was voted to come back in. It's not here this weekend. It'll be brought back into the allocation at the next race at Mugello. Obviously, Lorenzo doesn't see a big difference between the two. Remember, I just said before that Ducati have just tested at Mugello. The next race is at Mugello. My memory of Mugello is those downhill sections, and as long as the compounds and stuff are right, that construction certainly will help the riders that are harder on the front, especially the circuit like Mugello, because of those downhill corners. So I would think the Honda guys certainly are probably favouring it. And there'd be a bit of to and throwing, not only that conversation and the words said, but Lorenzo's probably feeling pretty good at Mugello test, probably got good speed, happy with that tyre, knows if they get that other tyre, he loses that tyre that's suiting him at the moment. The other tyre may not suit him, the stiffer construction. It's a battle, Howie. One's for it, one's against it. Lorenzo was certainly against it. Jack had his far north Queensland opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I like it in the sport, especially when it's addressed in the press conferences. Well done to Smith, as we said, both KTMs in the top 10, which is a fantastic effort for that, Mark. All right, stick around, because up next we're going through the full race build-up to round 5 of the MotoGP season from Le Mans. Welcome back to Le Mans in France. There is Jack Miller. He's had a couple of big incidents this weekend. He had a tangle with Jorge Lorenzo. Remarkable for mine that he can get back on a bike after having an incident and that style of speed and impact, but hopefully he can do his usual start, Daz, where often we see him on that first lap pick up 3 or 4 places. Hopefully he gets away to a flyer like that.
Yeah, and considering after that big fall and the bruises that he'd be carrying and just knocking your confidence around a little bit, he was, even though he was down this morning in the warm-up in 17th position, he was only 0.8 of a second off Marquez, who topped the warm-up. Marquez was ahead of Folger, Zarco, Vinales, Petrucci, Redding, Dovizioso, Rossi, Aleix Espargaro and Iannone were the top 10 in the warm-up this morning. Pedrosa was 11th.
Yeah, there was some reports coming out of Jack Miller's camp that when he came off the bike, after he got back to the garage, etc., he had bruising on his knee the size of a football. So remarkable that he can still get back out there.
Zarco, Loris Baz, Gintoli's replacing Rins at Suzuki, so those 3 French riders are looking to be strong. Hervé Poncereau, a big weekend for him as a Frenchman, and the team based in France. Big race for Zarco, double world Moto2 champion, having a great season with Hervé, along with his teammate Jonas Folger. It'd be great to see those two in the pointy end of this race today, and I'm sure Zarco will fight hard for this victory.
Well, last start, we saw him, he took no prisoners. He was battling with Rossi, he was battling with Lorenzo, he was sticking the front nose in time and time again, wasn't he?
He'll have the elbows out here early, for sure.
Yep. Looks like a beautiful afternoon in Le Mans. Marc Marquez starting 5th today. First time since 2017 he hasn't been on the front row. You could still expect him to challenge from there. The champ, though, surely does.
Yeah, I think it's just been about track time, Howie, as we've seen through the coverage so far. There's been a lot of wet weather here. Marquez will come stronger as the race goes on and keep it up right. Zarco was signed for 2018 already, so that's good news as well.
Dovizioso, big job ahead of him, not as much as his teammate back in 16th. Up next, we go racing.
Body and beats, I stain my sheets, I don't even know why.